We've had a little technical issues here. It's taken a couple of minutes to get things going. We're checking to make sure that I'm good. John tells me that we're live now and we're good. So, okay, the technical side of this is always the difficult part. I apologize. We had everything set and ready. I checked it yesterday. I checked it 4 times today. John said to me a half an hour ago, it's going to be fine, no problem. All right, it's fine, no problem. We're back in here again. So it is Friday, December the 20th. And that here is winter. I'm in northern Alabama. I walked this morning for my 2-hour walk, and it was 36 degrees when I went out and 38 when I got back. So that's cold. And I used to fret about the dark days of winter and how, January and everything, until an elderly neighbor once said to me, every day after December 21st, we get a little more daylight. We get another minute or two of daylight. So tomorrow is the shortest day of the year for daylight here in the northern hemisphere, but every day after December 21st, we get a little more light. And that changed my complete thinking about winter. I don't worry anymore about January being cold and dark and short days, because each day, in fact, is a little bit longer. And I think that's just really cool. It's a glass half full way to look at things. So the quilt on the wall behind me is Ricky's Papa's Choice pattern. He taught an online class, a couple times this past year, and I took one of them. And I really rave about his online classes. They're very well done. He really knows how to do it well. I just really enjoyed the experience a lot. And there's plenty of time for you to sew, and it goes over several weeks. And he tells you exactly how to upload your pictures, and he critiques them for you and things like that. His website for quilt classes is letsquilttogether.com, all one word, letsquilttogether.com. And I recommend the classes if you are interested in a good class that you can take. He offers lots of different classes. This one was Papa's Choice. Okay, so I will be looking for your questions at the end here. So if you have any, you can go ahead and put them in, and I will go back and look at them before we close down. Of course, this is a busy time of year for so many people. But if you're not busy, or not everyone, there are people who don't have family close by and don't have things that keep them super busy. And so having a block of the month that starts right here at the end of the year is not a bad thing for those people. So our block of the month for 2025, Laurel Ridge, was designed by Lynn Wilder exclusively for us. And for all of 2025, thequiltshow.com is the only place you can get the pattern. And it's free for STAR members. Just another great reason to be a STAR member of the Quilt Show. The show itself, Lynn's show, where she's going to walk you through the whole process and give a lot of great instruction, starts not this Sunday, but next Sunday, December 29th. That day, her show goes up, and you'll be able to watch her show. You'll also access the pattern, and I'm going to show you how to find all of these things in just a little bit. And she also is doing a video, which I love. I'm thrilled about that. She's got a step-by-step video. The first video actually gives you a little tour of her cabin before she gets into the teaching part. So you'll want to take a look at that. And each month for the pattern reveal, I also write a blog. And my blog is tips and tricks and suggestions, ways that have worked for me. And I've taught quilting classes for over 40 years, and I know that not everybody gets things the first time, and that there's more than one way to do things. And so I give you suggestions. One of the things I'll have for month one is a suggestion to increase the size of one of the units that the instructions say to cut by just a little bit. If you make the units an eighth bigger, they will work. I found that for me, they worked much better. So I always recommend you read my blog before you cut anything, because I've tested the pattern, and I've figured out what works for me, and I give you that information in advance, instead of if you cut everything out and go, oh man, I wish I had read that before. I really wish I had cut the pieces that little bit larger. So my blog is part of the instructions and the help that you're going to get all year long. So to get ready, if you're going to want to print your patterns, and not everybody does, a lot of people just download them to devices or save them to thumb drives and things like this. But if you want to print them, and some of us really still like paper printed, you'll want to make sure that you have paper and ink ready for your printer on next Sunday, September the 29th. The And it's my reminder time that the 2024 block of the month, Pick a Petal, which was designed by Jen Kingwell, is available only until December 31st. And we've made it really easy for you to download all 12 months at one time. There's one click button that you can click and it will download all of the patterns for you. If you aren't finished or you want to think someday you might want to make this quilt, it's free now. After we roll into 2025 and it becomes January, it is no longer available for us to give you. We cannot do it. It's a violation of our copyright and our contract with the designer. And so no, we can't do that. And we'll never be able to do it. So every year somebody writes, well, there's lots of people who, please, please, please. So save it or lose it. Basically, that's the way that it is for the 2024. Okay. Other things that you'll want to have on hand to be able to get ready to sew starting next Sunday, the 29th, is a great ruler is a 5.5 inch square. I don't have a 5.5 inch square. This is a 6.5 inch square. I have 5s, I have 2.5s, I have 4.5s, I have 8.5s, 10.5s. I don't have a 5.5. A 5.5 would really work well because a lot of these blocks that we're going to make are 5.5 inches, including the seam allowance, and having a ruler that just fits it perfectly is just really, really helpful. So this is the Quilter Select brand. I highly recommend these. Students that started using quality rulers instantly got better and had better results in their sewing. So a Quilter Select 5.5 inch square ruler, and they are available from the Quilt Show store, is really recommended both by Lynn and myself. And I don't have one. I've got a 6.5, I've got a 5, I've got a 6, but I'll make them work, but sure wish I had that 5.5. Then there's the notorious little flying geese block lock flying geese ruler in an unusual size. Lynn recommends this tool, and she's right, because we are going to make a whole lot of these little sizes, and having the ruler that's the exact size is really, really helpful. The problem is they're not available. The Quilt Show store was able to get about 60 of these. And a month ago, when I told them, I'm going to push this, I'm going to rave about how great this is, they said, oh, we better get more. They can't get any more. Not right now. They were out of stock. They haven't been made. Maybe in March, there might be some more. But in my blog for month 1, which comes out next week, I'm going to show you alternatives. If you have a larger block lock flying geese ruler, it's larger than this little size, you can still use it to trim the top edge because this angle is the same. So I'm going to show you how to do that on the blog to trim the top edge, and then you'd use a square ruler to trim the rest of it. I have step-by-step instructions on how to do that. Lynn's instructions in the pattern show you how to use this adorable little tiny cute, hard to find, unavailable little block lock ruler. So that's a handy thing to have. And then thread. You're going to do a lot of piecing. We've got a great pieced quilt. There's very little applique, and in fact, I'm going to give you alternatives to the applique because I'm not putting any applique in mine. When our applique starts in month 2, I'm going to show you some alternatives that I'm doing. So, but you're going to do a lot of piecing, and the pieces are small. Thread makes a difference. So, excuse me. My preferred thread is the Quilter Select 60 weight in the top. It's a polyester core with a cotton covering on it. And the polyester thread 80 weight has an orange line on it. This one, little orange strip, and this one has a green strip. 60 weight is green, 80 weight is orange. They work together beautifully. This is the polyester core. This is thin thread, and you put a lot of thread on a bobbin. And I had to be convinced, and Alex, she recommended this some years ago, and I said, well, let me try this. I really like this combination. The cotton covering on the top thread grabs the slippery polyester thread on the bottom. You load lots and lots and lots of thread on a bobbin so you don't run out as often. There's very low lint. It doesn't make a mess in your machine. So this is really great thread for piecing. The thicker the thread, the more variation you're going to have in all of these small seams. So up your game to quality thread. Finer is better. For the piecing that you're going to do. Okay, I'm now going to take you on a little tour of the website. And show you how to find everything you're going to want to find. Let me share my screen quickly and get over here and go to the quilt shop. Okay, first, in order to access the pattern, you must be logged in. So check yourself, and it should say welcome and your name. If you are logged in, it'll say welcome and your name. You'll know it is. It takes me usually 2 attempts to enter my name and my password and have it take. So that's just, I don't know why, but don't fret if it takes more than one time. But you want it to say welcome, Barbara. So on the website, to go to block of the month, we're going to learn. So this is just the home page right here, the home screen that shows what you see when you first come in. So we go to learn, which is classrooms and projects. We go to learn, and we can click right here. This banner already is there, but if this banner doesn't happen to be there, I need a sip of water. Excuse me. Okay, if the banner isn't there, you can click over here on block of the month. Laurel Ridge is right there. Okay, so we've clicked right on it, and here it comes out. Now it shows you where you are. We're under block of the month, and the first one numerically is Laurel Ridge. So I'm going to click view. Okay, and now this is the basic information. So there is a kit. There are 2 different kits in 2 different colorways. There is a link here to take you to the forum, and I'll do that in a few minutes. There is the Grandmother's Autumn colorway, and Lynn has already made this quilt. This is her sample quilt that's been made with the fabrics, and currently she's using the Granddaughter's Spring colorway to do her step outs, and she'll be making this throughout the year as she teaches us all the things that she wants to teach us. So there's 2 different colorways. We still have now both kits available, but when they are gone, they are gone. There were about a dozen of the spring left, and I'm here to tell you that the spring fabrics don't show up as well. They are beautiful fabrics, and they don't show great in this little picture. So if you want your quilt to look like these, getting the kit is your best bet. You can't source those fabrics for less money, even if you could get them all, and you probably can't. So as we scroll down here, we get to the introduction page. It's got fabric requirements. It has a coloring page, the introduction. And if you're getting ready, you'll want to look, especially if you want to use your own fabrics, you want to use this as a guide. And you can see here that there's the Grandmother's Autumn, there's the Granddaughter's Spring, and then the coloring page. And that's just something, some people like to plan out their colors ahead of time. So it does say that they recommend, well, when we get there, okay, if you're going to be using your own fabrics, they recommend that you use the Grandmother's Autumn as a way to check and see what it is that you need. So this just shows you, that's a great picture of the quilt itself, message from Lynn of what to expect and what to expect from the quilt show. The recommended tools, there's that flying geese ruler and the 5.5-inch square ruler. And then all of the fabrics that are in the kit. The 2 different kits have different amounts of fabrics. There's different numbers of fabrics. So the yardages amounts are different in the 2 kits, just based on how the kits were put together. So that's how that goes. Let me get you out of there. All right. And you'd have the same thing for the spring. And then here's where you can access the kits. I thought when I saw the price for a 90-inch square quilt, I thought that was really good. And finding those fabrics, as I said, you'd be hard-pressed to find them. The only other thing I want to mention about these pages, all of these pages have a comments section. I go and look at them and check them out, but for some reason, I can't answer them there. I can never answer them. We've tried. I'm a super admin for the website. I should be able to answer, and every time I try to put a comment, it says that my comment has been determined to be spam. So that is not the place to ask me questions. The forum is the place to ask me questions. You can also see here a link to my blog and to the forum. All right. So let's go back to the rest of Laurel Ridge before we jump off and go to other places. Okay, so next week, this isn't here today. It's on my computer because I'm an admin. But next Sunday, when you log in, you will be able to find this month, Laurel Ridge, Block of the Month 2025, Month 1, 4-patch and a star. If you are using your own fabrics, we recommend you download the patterns from the Grandmother's Autumn colorway. And because that is simply because there are more fabrics in that colorway. The instructions are the same. So I click on View, and it tells you again some information. Again, if you're using the fabric, your own fabric, use Grandmother's Autumn colorway. So here, there's 3 tabs here. Videos is always the first tab. If there is a video, it appears right here. Laurel Ridge, this video is great. It's about 15 minutes long. The first 6 or 7 minutes is a tour of Lynn's cabin. you'll want to move right in. It is a great little tour. You'll enjoy it tremendously. She decorates beautifully. There's quilts everywhere. It's just great. And then the rest of that video is her instructions on how to make that first month block. This tab is where you'll find the patterns, and under patterns and documents. Again, remember there's an autumn set and a spring set. I'm only downloading the spring set because that's the one I'm making. You're going to love the patterns. They are clear. They are concise. If you have the kit, there's no question which fabrics you're using. You can clearly see them. You can see which ones you have and how much you want to cut. What I'm recommending is some of these sizes. This one, this 2 1/4, I found I wanted it larger than that. I upped it to 2 3/8. It's only 1/8 of an inch larger. My blog shows you exactly how to do that. And in fact, I don't cut them 2 3/8. I cut a strip 4 3/4, and I'll show you how to do that on my blog. That's why I recommend you always look at the blog first before you start cutting things, because I'm going to make suggestions. Anyway, I've read the instructions and I know what it says. And this one says, 2 strips cut, but over here then it says the extra strip is just in case you need it. I didn't need a second strip, so I don't recommend you cut a second one. There's one more you have to keep up with when you need it again. But anyway, that's why I strongly recommend that you look at the blog before you do any of the actual cutting. The instructions are clear and wonderful, and you're really going to love it. It's just great. Okay. So that's what this is, the month 1 4-patch in a star. Let me go back. We're back to Laurel Ridge. We call these in here the breadcrumbs, where you can see where you are. You're under Learn, the category is Block of the Month, and we're under 2025 Laurel Ridge. And there's a link to these Facebook Lives. If you can't see it live or you want to see it again, these stay up all year long, and you click on View, and a few minutes after this airs live, it will pop in there, and this broadcast from YouTube, you'll be able to access it through YouTube and find it there. Now, there's one more wonderful thing about this particular year's Block of the Month, and that's the Laurel Ridge story. Lynn has written this great story. She's going to be telling us about the 1930s WPA, Works Public Administration, or Works Administration, that put women together as for a job called pack horse librarians, and they traveled around the country on pack horses for $28 a month, and it's a woman's history story, and it's fascinating. And every month there'll be some of the story, and you simply click on the View, and you'll see it. And then you can read it, you can download it, or you could just view the file and actually read it. It's 4 pages long, this first one. It's great. And it's just an added benefit to this particular year's Block of the Month. And it's just a wonderful thing that's really nice. So that is how you can find your way around here on everything to do with the Block of the Month. The links to the forum will take you there. This is an adventure this year, and you're going to be piecing a lot. You're going to be improving your piecing, because you do get better at the more things that you do, and there's lots of tips on how to do that. It's a journey. I call my blog My Joyful Journey, and this is going to be a journey that we take together, and I hope that you'll enjoy that part of it. And you're making an heirloom quilt. This isn't a one and done, you're going to knock it out in a week or two. You're going to work on this over some time and have a really wonderful 90-inch square quilt. And if you want it bigger, it's a simple matter to add additional borders, whether they're pieced or just additional fabric borders that would make your quilt larger. If you want to make it smaller, I'll show you how to do that as well. So I do encourage you to look at that. Let's go to the forum, because this is the one other place that I really want you to see. The forum is where I answer your questions, and Lynn's going to be looking there too. I will look at them several times a day, especially the first week. I'll be checking quite a bit, and you'll either get an answer from me or from Lynn or from both of us. And before next week comes around, I will have put in 2 new topics in here, one of which is month 1, ask questions here. The other one is month 1, share your progress here. And we ask that you use those 2 topics to ask your questions pertinent to month 1, so that anybody else who has similar questions or wants to see what other questions have been asked, know right to go there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we don't have to have hundreds of topics that ask the same question. Share your progress. We want to see what you're doing, particularly those of you, and many who will be using your own fabrics. I'm really interested to see what kind of fabric choices you've come up with. I'll have instructions on how you can upload photos to the forum. The biggest problem is if your photo is too large, it won't go in there, and you simply have to resize it smaller, and I have instructions on how you can do that as well. So those are the topics and the forum, and that's the place to go and get answers. You ask me questions, and Lynn, as I said, she'll be watching too as she gets an opportunity. And so that's the place to ask questions, not in any of these comment sections, because I simply won't see them when you're under Learn in the comments. You need to be in forum so that I can really answer that. I'll just show you my blog quickly. It's here as well. We have a direct link to my blog several places on the website so you can find it. It's bbquiltmaker.blogspot.com. You could save it. You could, I write like once a week. Usually on Sundays is the day that the blog comes out. There's no ads. You don't sign up for ads. There's no money. It's just me teaching what I know. And so this is the one I wrote just the other day. It was out last Sunday on getting ready, and it talks about these things that we're talking about today. There's a picture of the coloring chart page. I'm adding a few additional fabrics to my kit. I've added a little bit of depth in fabrics, the bright yellow, this periwinkle blue, 2 dark greens, and a plummy kind of a color in here, magenta color. So I'm adding some additional fabrics. My quilt will look a little different than everybody else's, and I encourage you to do that too if you'd like to. I'm going to replace the applique blocks, and I mentioned that. And anyway, so that's the kind of information that you can get right here. You can follow the blog if you want. The only other thing that I'm going to mention is these tabs at the top give a lot of information, my tutorials, and I have many of them, one of which is for making 4 flying geese at a time, which is what we're going to do in month 1. My teaching calendar is on there, and then my health journey. And I only mention that because there's over 1,000 blog posts. 6 of them don't pertain to quilting. They pertain to my health journey. I look different than I did just a couple of years ago. I've lost 111 pounds. If you're interested in how I did it through diet and exercise, I was featured this year in a Women's World magazine. That was kind of cool. A 2-page spread in a national magazine. And my favorite healthy recipes. And anyway, so that's right there. And you can find that under the tab called Health Journey. And I put those there because a lot of people who aren't quilters have asked me, where can I read your story about that? And it was just much easier to have them have one place to go. So that is my blog. So that's the information about how to find your way around. If you haven't been here in a while or you're brand new to our website, we're thrilled that you're here. And it takes a little while to figure out where things are. And you can run across here. The store's over here under shop. Okay, we have quilts to look at. And each week, each live that I do, I'll show you around a little bit. So let me go back to the webcam. Okay. So as I mentioned, the spring, this is that beautiful border fabric for the spring. It's just so pretty, and that's where I used it to pull these additional little bit darker colors in addition to for my palette that I'm using in my quilt. It's just really pretty, and as we said, it just didn't show up color-wise. That mock-up just really didn't show it as well as the beautiful colors that they are. So, and there's, like I said, about a dozen of those left, and when those are gone, and we have a little more now. We got a second supply of the autumns. Those sold out very, very quickly. So those will be they're available until they're not. And when they're gone, they are gone. So if you want them, I encourage you to order now so that you can be sure that you get them. Okay, I showed you on the forum back there. Okay, I'm going to now go look and see if we have any questions. So you'll see me reading them if I can see them here. Let me go and see if we can see them. And all right, okay, there it is. It says view the stream. Let me see where this. When it changes, it's there we go. Okay, chat. John told me I'd find it, and he was right. There it is under chat. Okay, chat. Well, chat. I don't see them. Oh, there we go. All right, Sharon Brown. No, her question is, did I understand you to use the fall fabric list even though you were making the spring version? No. The spring version, the spring kit, is you will simply use the spring pattern each month. The pattern is written for both autumn and spring. The one you want is the spring one. If people are using their own fabric stash, not the kits, they recommend that you use the autumn list for the autumn pattern instructions, because there are more fabrics. There's like 4 or 5 additional fabrics in the autumn kit than there are in the spring kit. And so they just simply recommend that. But so Sharon, if you are making the spring quilt as I am, you're only going to be concerned about the spring pattern instructions. And I hope that clarifies that. Okay. Oh, how many spools of thread would you recommend? I couldn't tell you. I think that the kit that they're selling, the batch that they sell for 2 of each spool, so that's probably enough for a 90 by 90 inch quilt. But I couldn't tell you for sure. I'm just getting started too. I'm only into the first two months. Let me see if there's any more questions there. And all right, I only see those few that are right there. I do go back and look at on Facebook both the Alex Anderson's page and the Quilt Show page, and I go into YouTube and look at questions there, because sometimes questions pop up after the live has happened, and so I want to be able to make sure that I answer the questions. But is the pattern the same? Yes. Hillary says, is the pattern? Yes. The pattern for both autumn and spring is exactly the same. But the color, but the kits, people who bought the kits, and many people did, you want to use the kit pattern that matches your kit, because you'll be looking at the pattern and you will see exactly which fabrics you have in your kit. So the pattern is identical. The instructions are the same. It's simply a matter of which fabrics go where as you make the quilt, which fabrics to cut each month. That's what the difference is. For those people who are working from the kit, that's the only thing that's different. If you are working from your own fabric, then simply use the autumn pattern. Makes it the easiest for you. Okay. Some people are up late. Okay. Some people, it's amazing to me. It's noon here. I'm at the middle of the day here on Friday, but people who are in Australia, it's tomorrow. People who are in California, it's mid-morning. And London, I think it's dinner time. It's early evening there. So it's just interesting to me to see where everybody is. Rhonda says, thank you for doing all this. Looking forward to doing it. That's the great thing about this, is that, and I'm going to go back to the webcam now. Well, I'll stay here in case there's a couple more questions pop up. We're just about done. You're going to get so much support. Someone asked me, I write on Facebook and put up when I've got a link to my blog, I put it up there, and I'm teaching a local class here in town, here in Huntsville, Alabama, throughout the year next year, just a 2-hour lecture demo class once a month. But someone wrote me and said, what skill level do you have to make this quilt? And I said, if you can sew a 1/4 of an inch seam accurately with your machine, you can make this quilt. That's all it is. It's not exceptionally difficult. We have had some more difficult blocks of the month quilts over the past many years. I consider this one to be one of the more simple ones, and you are going to learn so much. And if you're new to piecing, all the tips you're going to learn about piecing, both from Lynn and myself, and the practice you're going to get from all the piecing, you are going to learn a lot, and you will get better as you go if this is something new to you. I've taught, as I said, for years and years, and I know that not everybody, there's more than one way to do anything in the quilt world, like there probably is in a lot of skills as you learn them. And so I have ways to suggest, well, if this doesn't work for you, try this, so that you can find the way that works the best. So, okay, I think we are just about done. I don't see more questions coming in. So let me go back over here to webcam, and please ask your questions on the forum. We are here to answer your questions. You're not out there with no help at all. The designer, Lynn Wilder, is prepared to answer questions when she has time and can see your questions. And I'm certainly, that's what I do. I'm here to do it, and I check for you several times a day. The best place to ask me is on the forum. Some people write questions on my blog, and I answer there too. And that's seen by many, many people around the world. So that can be helpful as well. But we do want you to share your progress once next week. I'll get those 2 new topics up so that you can have a place to do that and ask specific questions on the forum about the quilt. My next live, which we will do for month 1, we start making these star blocks, and I'm using different fabrics here. Don't use this as a guide. Just don't, different fabrics from the kit, but I added my blue in here. Will be January 3rd, Friday, January 3rd. But the pattern you'll already have because it goes up December 29th. The next, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. So I wish happy holidays to everybody. We're coming in here to Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and any other holiday, just the winter time if you get to spend time with family or those you love. Or if you just get to be quiet and take it easy. If some of our country is snowbound already, and as long as they've got power and they can keep sewing, that's a good thing too. So anyway, I look forward to spending this whole next year with you as we go on this wonderful journey, this adventure to Laurel Ridge. And until next time, that's a wrap.